somebody else for you now, and he's going to tell us all about the legal world. And in particular, he is an associate at a firm called Mishkon Dereya. He's passionate about the challenges that Muslims in particular face and South Asians. Welcome to the couch. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
And this is, of course, Arham Malik.
Yes.
Hi, nice to have you.
Thank you so much for
Did
having
you
me.
travel from very far at all?
Not too far, it's about 40 minutes from Hornchurch.
Oh, fantastic. Not too bad at all. So, Arham, you describe yourself as a state-educated British Bangladeshi Muslim lawyer working at a city law firm. That's a lot of different hashtags there, lots of different parts to it. How important is your identity to you and to the experiences that you've had in your career?
Massively important. I think it's kind of underpinning what I've been through and the challenges I've faced. I haven't come from kind of riches, more rags, and I've kind of had to persevere through various setbacks from secondary school to university and to get to where I am. So it's kind of constant challenges, and it's having that mindset to be effectively very adamant to achieve what you'd like to achieve, but also having faith in Allah's plan that whatever's going to happen is going to be right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel that some of the obstacles that you've had to face have been unique to you as a Muslim?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone coming into the corporate world faces many challenges, but as Muslims, we face very unique challenges, particularly in relation to our faith obligations. We have to pray 5 times a day, and that can often intersect with our work obligations, particularly in the corporate world. You've got very high stakes cases, high stakes obligations, and high pressure situations, and that can often conflict with your obligation to pray on time, pray within certain time periods, and particularly during the winter periods where we've got
it's very short.
Yeah, we've got three times to pray during short 4 or 5 hours. So there's all these sorts of challenges, and I think also when you consider the general culture, you don't really want to engage with the prevalent drinking culture in the legal sector, and you try to stay away from it, and as a result of that, that can kind of pose its own challenges.
Of course. I mean, in my own family, my brother, he used to work for Linklaters, he's a partner elsewhere, and I remember, and this was quite a few years back, there is that pressure, isn't there, to sort of compete on that level. What do you do to fit in, but then at the same time to hold your own identity, to hold your own. How have you managed to navigate that?
I think one, I've kind of reached out to people who have established themselves in the legal sector and gotten advice. I've not kind of got in there and been like, I'm going to work this out by myself and just go blind, because that would just not be a great thing to do when you're going into somewhere where you don't really know much about. And secondly, I've also been true to my beliefs, and that's quite important, that you find an area of work that you do day to day that is allows you to effectively maintain a good foundation of who you are. And for me, that's my faith. And finding somewhere like a firm like Mishkon Dereya enables me to get exactly what I need in terms of my satisfaction with my job, but also being able to stay true to my faith.
I think that's really a positive thing to hear. Now, for our viewers who might be watching and they might be thinking, law could be a possible career for them, but there still isn't, so many faces that look like ours, that, come from that kind of background, as you mentioned. What made you decide to go into law?
Oh, you know what, there's a funny story behind it. Rather embarrassing in some ways. Well, I never really wanted to do law. I came from my GCSEs, I didn't do too well, so I got B's and C's, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I then kind of was watching a TV show called Suits.
Oh, yes. We all know Suits. I think we've all at some point decided we want to be Harvey Specter, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I saw Harvey and I was like, he's a cool guy. I think I'd like to potentially work in his area. So I chose A-level law, and I just loved it. It was really, really interesting, and it really kind of piqued my kind of interest in terms of solving problems. And I've always had that knack for, I've got an issue, how do I solve it? Not panic mode, it's how do I solve it? And that's integral to being a solicitor. It's, you have issues that are coming before you, and you've really got to think of a forward solution rather than being stuck in the moment. And that's why people go to solicitors and their barristers, trying to find a solution rather than, oh my God, I'm panicking. So that kind of piqued my interest, and I went to university to study my undergraduate degree, but I faced many, many challenges. Financially, I moved out and I had to cover my rent. And during summer and winter, traditionally, students will spend their time at vacation schemes or doing some training contract interviews. I had to work in retail to cover my rent. So I found difficulties with trying to effectively get ahead with my peers.
Yes.
So I just thought to myself, okay, maybe I'm falling behind, but I just don't have to let that be the reason that I won't achieve what I want to achieve. So I thought to myself, okay, what else can I do during my term time? So I picked up mooting. And by doing mooting, I went into a competition and I got the best individual mooting performance effectively.
For some of our viewers, they won't know what mooting is. If you want to quickly explain, what is mooting?
So it's basically mock trials. You'll be given a case and you'll be asked to stand on each side, and you'd be before a panel of maybe 1 or 3 judges, and you just be asked to put forward a case, and you'll have the case already there, and it's kind of like that you're going to be assessed on your advocacy skills, how well you present yourself, and how well you can persuade the judges effectively.
Fantastic. I love the fact that you were creative, and you were resourceful. You didn't let the fact that you had sort of financial obstacles in your way, hold you back, and that's really, really powerful, because of course there are so many children out there from Bangladeshi or Pakistani backgrounds, who have that kind of working class mentality and system at home where they don't have access to necessarily all the resources, and sometimes they do feel that they can't access these things, that they're not those people that are in suits, so it's great hearing this, and you've obviously managed to overcome that obstacle. You're at a junior associate level, is that right?
Yes.
So you're kind of starting out.
Yes. Exactly.
And that in itself is interesting, because you're at the beginning of your career, so you're still writing your chapters.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does a typical day involve for you?
So for me, it's very different. So I specialize in a form of dispute resolution called international arbitration.
Okay.
So regularly I'm advising international clients, and it could be high net worth individuals to companies to states and state-owned entities. So it can always differ what I'm doing and the type of work, but it's very international. So it's not focused on English law. It could be focused on Swiss law, French law, whatever the case comes across our desk effectively. So it's always a new day, and for me it's kind of planning ahead for the first day, get inside, what am I going to do, making sure I've put everything in place, and that also kind of, just to come back to my faith, is effectively how am I going to plan around my prayers, and that is something that as a junior lawyer that we've just been speaking about, it can be quite difficult when you've got obligations to turn up to meetings, to turn up to calls, but alhamdulillah, I've been able to be quite vocal about it, but also get support from allies in the legal sector, and people have been very, very supportive in senior leadership roles, and I've been able to manage my workload around that, and that's effectively what's been the driving force behind me pushing for a lot of change effectively in the legal sector in that respect.
Absolutely. I mean, that sounds really interesting, and it's really great to hear that there are some positive changes taking place. What would you say are the kind of qualities? I know you kind of mentioned it slightly earlier, but what kind of qualities, skills do you think are really integral to being a good solicitor?
I think first and foremost, and I've alluded to this point about integrity.
Yes. Which is important given the reputation that lawyers have. I mean, we don't want to say it, but it is out there, right?
No, it's very, very true. And I think that's an underpinning foundational quality that you must have.
Yes.
In terms of soft skills, you have to be very organized, and coming back to kind of structuring your day, thinking about what you might be working on in the following week, the following months. You've got to think of yourself as effectively pushing your own personal brand as a lawyer.
Yes.
You're part of a law firm, but you are an individual solicitor that is providing work output to your seniors and your colleagues, and you've got to think about to yourself, how can you sell yourself, and being as organized as you can is so vital and so key, and can help you down the long run. So I think for me, that's the main kind of soft skill that you could possibly have as a solicitor.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned about allies, and organisations, and I was reading something about the Muslim Employment Charter, and also the Association of Muslim Lawyers, who are both sort of trying to bring about positive change, increase diversity, inclusion. Can you tell me a little bit about that, and any sort of participation you might have in those areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So Muslim Employment Charter is an initiative effectively to get employers to better accommodate the needs of Muslim employees. There are many more Muslims coming into the corporate workforce, and their main concern is effectively, how am I going to balance my faith and my work obligations, particularly in a sector which is very busy and very demanding. And Muslim Employment Charter is effectively trying to bridge that gap. And Waqas Hussain, who's the mind behind all this, he's a brilliant individual. I've met him many times, and he's put this forward through the standard that we effectively employers can adopt, which allows them to better accommodate needs of Muslim employees. That can include better prayer facilities and improving socials, for example, making them more inclusive. We'll be less likely to turn up to a pub, for example. And it's just making
maybe to a restaurant where everyone can eat rather than having halal options, for example.
It's about awareness, and I think things are now changing where, as Muslims are becoming more vocal and kind of explaining why we believe what we believe and why we need to do what we need to do, rather than being kind of shy about it.
Yes.
And I think and I think you alluded to it before. And it's also a sense of gives you an opportunity to give dawah in some ways as well, because you can start to really reflect and show the human side. And that's always not been shown in the past, obviously. So.
Sounds fantastic. Now, there's so much to talk about. We've got loads to cover. But I have to ask you, what do you do for fun? Do you ever get to sort of balance things a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? I say it's really fun. Some people might not agree.
Right.
But I'm a father.
Yep.
And that's what I spend the majority of my time doing. I'm a father and husband.
Yes.
I've got a young family, and any free time I get, I spend with my family. And we go out anywhere we can, eat out anywhere we can.
And your son's 3, right?
He is 3.
Yeah,
yes.
They enjoy these years when they're young. They are the most fun, and they listen.
Somewhat.
Yes, this is a good time. Now, Arham, we have had this new part of our show where the guests come on and they write a question, and it's a random question for a guest that's going to be in a future show. Okay. Now, I think in the glass next to you is a piece of paper where somebody has written a question for you. This is a previous guest. Would you open that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just read the question out?
I can do so.
I'm excited because even I don't know what it is.
It's typed up. Then.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there we go. What was that moment in your life that changed your trajectory?
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
so what was that moment in your life that changed your trajectory? Okay.
I think what changed my trajectory...
Does it say who wrote it, by the way?
Yes, it does. Let me read it out, actually.
Who was a guest?
It was Dr. Akhil Jagirdar.
Dr. Akhil Jagirdar.
Jagirdar,
okay. Fantastic. Okay, go on.
Okay. So I think for me, what changed my trajectory... So at university, I was... kind of volunteering at the Kent Law Clinic, which is a pro bono institute providing free legal advice for vulnerable individuals.
Right.
At the time, I wasn't getting training contract applications. I was kind of getting rejection after rejection, and I was kind of not really getting anywhere. And I was kind of losing hope in whether or not I'd make it as a solicitor.
Right.
So I was working on a benefits claim for an elderly lady, and it really reignited my passion for law, because ultimately we got the result that we needed. We got backdated benefits for her, and it was such a massive impact on her life. And I realised the impact that I could make as a solicitor, just fighting for someone's corner. And I think that's effectively what people need and what they ask for from legal representation: someone to fight their corner. And for me, that just ignited that flame that I potentially was losing.
Yes.
So alhamdulillah, that was, I think, the main changing point for me.
A turning point for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, when you see the direct impact and, you see the faces behind that and what they benefit from it, it's a completely different feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it brings a human to it, which is important, I think, for for any kind of job satisfaction, really.